So, after the largest public hearing in Calgary's history, the blanket rezoning bylaw has been passed. And what does that mean for you? So, with the blanket rezoning, the new base residential district, which is what they're calling a zone, is residential grade oriented or residential low density mixed housing. So that's RCG or RG to allow for a greater variety of housing options. So it's going to be a lot easier to put a suite in. And the more dense option for properties closer to the core of the city is housing grade oriented, so HGO, which is kind of a cool acronym. This will allow for both secondary suite and backyard suites on the same property. And it will remove certain parking requirements for backyard suites. What this means is it's much easier to densify, much easier to add suites. So if you are in a property, if you own a property that currently has an illegal suite, you might be able to legalize it. You probably will be able to legalize it. All right, let's go through the RG, that's the residential low density mixed housing, the new district that is being implemented in Calgary. So we can do a townhouse, a row house, single detached, semi-detached, or single detached. Max height 12 meters. We can put suites in, semis, row houses, or single detached. So the parking requirement, generally one stall per unit, but is dependent on the type of housing. Next, let's look at the RCG. The next dense zoning option, which is now available in Calgary, is RCG. And let's take a look at what that offers. So we can do a row house, a single detached, townhouses, or semi-detached. The major difference here is the parking requirement. You only need half a stall per unit and half a stall per suite minimum. So that means if you only have one parking stall, you can have a legally suited property provided other requirements are satisfied. So again, makes it much easier to add a legal suite, whereas previously you couldn't because of parking requirements. And the most dense zoning that is now available is housing grade oriented, abbreviated as HGO. Now let's take a look at what that means. So this is a much denser type of housing. So you can get some low-rise apartments, townhouse blocks, semi-detached and detached properties. It's much more aimed at urban properties that are on the large lots with a detached home currently that are looking to densify. So there's a lot of information here, but what we really want to look at is still half a stall requirement for per unit and per suite. So again, easy to put in the backyard suite, easy to put in the basement suite. And new homes are permitted in these districts as long as the proposal meets the rules of the land use bylaw. You don't have to ask permission as long as you're following the rules here. This makes certain urban properties closer to the core much, much more valuable. And I'll go over the map now to give you an idea of what properties lie in which zones. So the city has put together a very useful interactive map to tell you what zone applies to which property. You can look up your own address, you can look up a prospective property you're looking to purchase and see where it might lie, if it might suit your needs with this blanket rezoning bylaw. So here are the three new districts: residential low density mixed, RG, residential grade oriented infill, RCG, and housing grade oriented, HGO. Let's see where they lie. So the least dense new zoning is more for the outskirts of the city. Up here, northwest, and the sort of higher end areas here, down here, down here, down here. So the farther out from the core you are, the less dense they want it to be. Next up, the residential grade oriented infill. That's the one that only requires half a stall for each suite, each unit. That's the properties closer to the core, which is most of them, really. Even some outlying areas here like Tuscany. And the one that's hardest to find is the housing grade oriented. And let's see where we can find some of that. Bum, bum. And they really want this to be close to transit, close to transportation. They don't want, a townhouse block built way out on the outskirts to make it hard for people to commute. So here's one such property. Here. This will go from RC2 to HGO. The value of this property just went up considerably. A developer could buy up all these in this row here, turn it from, looks like a mix of detached and mostly duplexes here, turn it into a townhouse complex or a low-rise apartment building. And again, let's find another example. Here are some more properties that are being rezoned as housing grade oriented, close to C train, close to transit, close to downtown. So if you own this property here, the value just went up considerably. Going from RC2 to HGO, a developer can buy up this row of homes, turn it into a low-rise apartment complex, turn it into a townhouse complex,